Ted Karras is in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics and the Bengals Veterans Center. A lot of perspective on what it's like at this stage of training camp, both physically and mentally. Not taking snaps, obviously, in the preseason games. It didn't happen in the first game against the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to happen against the Giants, and it probably won't happen in the last preseason game against the Rams as well. He's getting plenty of preparation. And his protocols are being taken care of during the course of practice. I'm going to talk about what it's like playing center in the National Football League, helping other young offensive linemen develop their careers and become better players in the National Football League. He's doing all that for the Cincinnati Bengals. As always, you're going to really appreciate Ted Karras and what he's all about. Appreciate you joining us in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, once again coming from our outstanding studios. And we have an equally outstanding guest. As always, this guy knows his football. And it's always a pleasure to talk to Ted Karras. Ted, how you doing, my man?
Glad to be back on. Thanks for having me on again.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So it's that stage of training camp. How's the body doing? How do you feel?
Feeling good. You know, it's been about a month in. And we got about another month till real live action. So we're kind of getting on the ascending track that we've been going on, but body's feeling good and, preparing for, a long season ahead.
No question about it. And I think Zach has a pretty good plan, a pretty good idea how to make sure that everybody makes the dance opening day against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it doesn't look like, many starters are going to be getting action at all during the course of the preseason, but you're getting plenty of work done. And how much are you looking forward to those controlled practices that are going to be very, very hard work against the Rams coming up?
Oh, I think that's going to be invaluable to us, especially, obviously going against a defensive unit that is tops, in this league, and to be able to, kind of size ourselves up before, real actual competition that counts is experience that a lot of guys, including me, are really going to take advantage of.
Yeah, and it's a good scenario because during the course of preseason games, you may get a lot of situations covered and get reps, but there's no guarantee. But in a 2-day, controlled practice environment, you can script every and any situational thing, down and distance, area of the football field, whatever the case may be, clock management type things, any and everything can be handled and make sure that you get reps on those and good reps in those situations before the opener. That's huge, isn't it?
It is. And, there's so many different little nuances with the rules of the game, situations that, like you said, may not come up in a preseason game. Most of them do, but there's some very specific ones that can be the difference in winning or losing a contest here in the next 4 months that we need to be prepared for. And I'm sure that Coach Taylor and Coach McVay have those all sorted out and ready to go for us to execute.
So the Arizona Cardinals opener in the preseason is in the books. What do you take from it? I mean, what were the positives, I guess, that the team as a whole took out of that game against the Arizona Cardinals?
I think a lot of guys got some great experience. There were a lot of first-time NFLers out there playing, and that's always a special moment, maybe a nerve-wracking moment, but one that is obviously necessary and a dream come true for a lot of guys that are playing on this team. So I think a lot of guys got some good work. I think Cordell Volson, Jake Browning, some young guys that we have, good friends of mine that are doing a great job. Got to show what they can do, what we've been seeing at practice for the past month.
Cordell Volson is a big man, big powerful man, Ted. I mean, you work right next to him from time to time, during the course of a practice for sure. There's no doubt about that. What do you like best about his game?
I think he works really hard. Obviously, he's naturally gifted with length and strength. But he's a guy that he's the kind of guy that you want in your program, the kind of guy you want next to you. And we have so many of those guys in our offensive line unit: Jordan Williams, Alex Kappa, Jackson Carman, LC. I think there's a certain type of hardworking individual that really cares about, the game and the team. And we've amassed quite a few of those guys here. So it's very encouraging. But I think Cordell is working really hard. I think he's got the natural ability to be a really good, a dynamic player in this league. So, I'm doing everything I can to help him make that transition as quick as possible, not only for his benefit, but for this team's benefit.
And I've noticed, after practice, he is a sponge, absorbing everything you've got to offer. I mean, this kid, he wants to learn, right? I mean, he's a willing learner. There's no doubt.
Absolutely. He's been fantastic, above and beyond expectations. What you think of as a rookie lineman, especially recently with the less time that you get to develop, and that's kind of harder on younger linemen, I think, especially. I'm not complaining about it. I'm with the new rules and everything, but there is a certain level and certain standard that you have to be at, and I think it's harder for young linemen to get there. And our rookies and our young second-year guys have really done a great job putting in the extra work to catch up.
Zach Taylor is doing everything he possibly can to make sure that he gives the players the best possible percentage opportunity to be ready and available for the opener, in terms of not overloading practices and a couple of days of work and then you get a little break. Compare and contrast training camp schedule with the Bengals as opposed to the Patriots or Miami Dolphins. More similar than different, or are they very different?
I think more similar than different. A lot of, training camp is training camp. I think I came into the league in a unique time where it was transitioning to a lighter load than what it would be typically considered a training camp in the NFL.
Right.
I think Zach does an unbelievable job with this program. We go very hard when it's time to go, and he does take care of us, takes care of guys that, maybe need some extra care too. So he's very aware of his roster and his, in the management of, all the talent that he oversees. So I'm having an amazing time. I love it here. And the encouraging thing about it is we still have a lot more to go and a lot more work to put in before the games do actually count. And as a player, that I feel, maybe comforted by that, and knowing that, by the time September 11th rolls around, we're going to be out there as a maybe not a completely, obviously not a completely polished, finished product, but ready to go out there and execute to win a football game.
The cold facts of life of the National Football League cropped up for the offensive line in that first exhibition game, in that Ben Brown gets injured, and he has a bicep tear or detachment or whatever, and looking at surgery and injury reserve. I mean, there's another guy I know that you were mentoring, and he really has a lot of respect for you and what you've done in the National Football League. And here's another guy that was trying to learn as much as possible, right?
Absolutely. That was, obviously a devastating injury to Ben. Really coming along, another really hardworking rookie. Just a testament to this organization, the kind of people that they're bringing in. And we're going to do everything we can to help him out in the transition that comes here with rehabilitation of that injury. But it is the cold hard reality, like you said, and obviously it's heartbreaking, but we want to maintain the health of our players as much as we can.
Another lesson that was learned in the opener, obviously, was these teams are good. They're good enough to beat you without your help. You don't want to self-destruct. And 11 penalties, 104 yards, and then the fumble with the short field at the 21-yard line that they were able to take advantage of. I mean, that's just given them too many opportunities and taking opportunities away from yourself. And the guy that really suffered, Evans, I mean, his numbers, the guy performed really, really well, but it just doesn't show up. I mean, his numbers, 8 carries for -3 yards. Well, he had a 60-yard run that was nullified by penalty, a 5-yard touchdown run nullified by penalty. So actually, he had 10 carries for 62 yards in the touchdown, not 8 for -3. Then he had a 12-yard reception that was taken away because of a holding penalty. So 3 holding penalties destroyed his numbers. He would have had nine touches. He ends up with 9 touches for 6 yards, 1 reception for 9 yards, and 8 carries for -3. When in reality, 10 carries for 62 and a touchdown, and 12 touches overall for 83 yards and a touchdown. That just goes to show you that, man, you can get destroyed individually and collectively as a team by self-destruction. There's no question.
I agree, and that's the positive of a preseason game. To be able to show that to the team and feel that as a team. I think that as we get into more games, we can, especially as an O line with holding penalties. We never want to get those, but you have to do business as business is being done. They were calling it really tight, so there's no chances they can be taken in that scenario. But another good thing about the preseason is those runs are still on film for Chris. Obviously, he's a great player and still on film for us to learn off of. Those were positive plays that, whether you agree with the call or not, were called back by an official. Lessons to be learned as we go forward in this season. If that's happening, we have to talk on the bench. We have to make sure that everyone realizes the stakes that are out there. If there's an official that's going to be calling it tight, if there's a crew that's calling a specific play tight, we cannot take any chances and just, kind of play within our framework and keep going. But, I thought it was a great night, especially for Chris. I'm a big fan. He's an indie guy just like me. So I was really pumped. First play of the season, we busted 60-yard run. Obviously got called back, but, it wouldn't have really counted anyway. So I'm glad that, it was in the preseason.
No question. So some of these defensive linemen, these young defensive linemen that you've been working against as a individual and collectively as an offensive line, Zach Carter shows up, 4 total tackles and a pass defense. Jeff Gunter, a sack, 2 quarterback hits, a pass defense. I thought Cam Sample played a solid game. Cam Sample to me is just a solid football player, can, play multiple positions like that. I thought that Kendrick Pryor, the young receiver, 7 targets, 4 catches, 89 yards, and a touchdown, 30-yard touchdown catch. Veteran guy, special teams guy, takes advantage of very opportunities. Trent Taylor, 4 targets, 4 catches, 74 yards, 36-yard long. I mean, a lot of guys took advantage of opportunities and showed up, didn't they?
Oh, yes. And then, that's what these games are for. And I think, as you mentioned, the young D linemen, we have a lot of guys on defense that are, exceptional players and offense as well. But I get to go against and feel those guys on defense. And I think it's just been awesome to be able to go back and forth between our units, especially our starting units. Being able to play against DJ Reader every day is an invaluable resource to me. I think he's one of the top players at his position in this league, and to be able to hone my skills against a player that is so well regarded, but also just so productive and so crafty and professional and very good is going to be serve us so well going into the gauntlet that is this division. So I'm glad that those guys got to show what they had to do on this past game. There's another one coming up. There's plenty of opportunity left in training camp, and a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of football to be played.
A guy that is a feel-good story, there's no question, is Drew Plitt, because of the appendicitis that Joe Burrow is going through, and the surgery and the rehab, and he's getting stronger every day, though, man. He's getting his energy back. Joe's looking pretty good. We'll get to him, but Drew Plitt, kid from Loveland High School, local kid, 6 for 6, 76 yards and a touchdown. Perfect quarterback rating, 158.3. I mean, he'll have a story to tell his kids, his grandkids, that it's kind of an amazing deal, isn't it? I mean, he basically got his shot because of what went down with Joe, got a chance to show up at a camp, and he's taking advantage of his snaps.
He has, and that's what this league is all about. I had a similar way that I not busted in, not appendicitis, but injury coming in and being able to play and show what you can do, and comes in in a preseason opener in 2022 and throws a touchdown. He leads a touchdown drive and throws a nice touchdown. So very happy for him. Obviously a local kid, and he's got to continue to take advantage of opportunities as they're presented to him.
Yeah, there's no doubt. So as you get ready for the Giants, and again, I don't think physically that you'll be taking the Giants on a snap-by-snap basis by any stretch of the imagination, but from a mental preparation standpoint, I mean, you have Don Wink Martindale, who the Bengals know very well. He was in the division with the Baltimore Ravens, and this guy, he blitzes you in pregame warmups. I mean, I could not believe how many times he brought one more than could be blocked in the opener against the Patriots when the Giants, beat the Patriots up there in Foxborough in the preseason game. But this guy, he brings it, and they've got some really strong defensive players themselves up front. I'm not sure that they're going to play. I'd be shocked, in fact, if some of their defensive stalwarts do play. But how does it help you get ready for the season, going through the mental process of sorting through everything that the Giants might present to you from a schematic configuration standpoint, pressure package standpoint, and all that? Does that get you juices flowing a little bit mentally?
Yes, this is a unique, point in my career that I've never got to experience before. I don't know any specifics about playing time going into the Giants. I'm preparing like, we are going to play, and I help prepare the younger offensive linemen. There's a certain process that you need to go throughout the week, getting ready to play, a full 60 minutes. Obviously, it's a little less extensive here in the preseason, in terms of really knowing what that team is all about.
Yep.
But there is a process, and it's I'm trying to take advantage of this time to really get back into mine, which is learning these guys' names, their positions, their numbers. That's just the baseline, and then what this overall scheme is, the percentages of fronts and pressures, and then paired with the individual nuances that players bring to the table. They do have everyone in the preseason has a doubly the size personnel list, and I think that it helps you to nail down your process if you can go through this week now, as this would be a normal game week starting tomorrow, on the different landmarks that you need to hit to be able to go out there and play fast and play without hesitation. And in the preseason, there's always going to be an element of surprise, and even in the regular season. But the unique thing about the preseason is you got to rely more on your fundamentals and your technique, because you don't know who's going to be coming out here. They could have signed a kid, 2 days ago, slapped a 99 on him and put him over your head. So you're going to have to go out there and play your best. But there is a certain level of preparation that it ramps up each week. I know for the Rams week, it'll be even more, as it's going to be more one-on-one action in practice, and then we'll kind of get a snapshot for the game that way. But this week is going to be treated like a pseudo normal game week, I would say, for me in terms of preparation. So just getting ready to go to MetLife and perform the best possible in whatever I'm asked to do.
Absolutely. And I guess from week 1 to week 2 in the preseason, the actual protocols and preparation protocols and all that, in terms of there's no real game planning that goes on in the first preseason game. Very little that goes on in week 2, but maybe a little bit more than in week 1. So everything maybe starts to ramp up a little bit. But you, like you talked about, you've got steps in your personal process that you're going to start honing in on. And this is a good week to do it. Do you think there'll be a little bit more game planning, a little bit more individual meetings and discussion about the Giants, or do you think not really until Rams week?
Well, I don't know. I haven't done, this is all new for me as well.
Yep.
I know that, prepping for a game is not inherited year to year. You have to reestablish your process. You have to, refocus in on what you think, based on the information provided you by the coaches. Obviously, we do a great job. This coaching staff does an amazing job sending information down to us. But then there's certain things that, as a center, you have to look for. If you're playing left guard, you need to look at certain things, right guard, matchups and nuances of players. So, it's a chance for all of us to continue to build and build our process together. What the 2022, Bengals O-line game prep wants to look like, so that we can be the most successful. So that's what we're going to be focusing on this week. In addition to, continuing to build our fundamentals. This is still training camp. We're establishing a precedent for the, and a base for the rest of the season. So we got to keep ascending on that track. But there is a game to be played, so we can't ignore that.
Right. Right. Like you mentioned, there were some holding calls, maybe not super sloppy in terms of hand placements and hand usage and all that sort of thing, but it got called. Um, when you're when you go through an experience like that, the following week, is it just okay? Now we really have to hone and make sure the hands are inside and everything that goes along with that. I mean, do you really work to okay? We have to change maybe our approach a little bit in some of this, and we got to make sure we hone in on it. Is that what goes on for you?
Yeah, there's an element to that. I think we always want to have our hands inside. We want to play within our framework of our body and play within the rules of the game. And as I said earlier, yeah, like you said, they weren't sloppy holds. So when one and two of those crop up early on in a contest, we have to then tell each other on the bench, hey, all right,
Yep.
today's business is being done very tight. So there's no room for error. Not that there ever is, but there's a certain degree based on the officiating crew that you can get away with. And there was no this past game. So we'll know that going in. Well, that's part of the game prep too, knowing the crew, knowing what they
Yep.
like, what they don't like, what they can tolerate.
Yep.
And that's all part of game preparation and a little bit of gamesmanship as well during the contest.
Now, how was it from a mental standpoint? When you guys reviewed tape of the game with Coach Pollock, were there very, very few mental errors? I mean, was it there weren't any free runners because guys didn't know what they were supposed to do and how they were supposed to get there? Was there very minor incidents of that, or was it a problem?
No, I don't think it was a problem. I think we have guys that really study. Our unit is very, very tuned in, and Coach Pollock getting ready to go, but there's always a degree of first live action, and you kind of revert to things that maybe aren't coached here but are coached, you were coached in college or previous employment. So that's just part of preseason and playing under the lights together, and learning and growing in this league. So I think overall the unit played a solid game. We didn't come out on top, started a little slow, but really fought, and a lot of guys showed a lot of great things.
Yeah, you make a great point. I remember my rookie year, like it was yesterday. My offensive line coach, Bill Tiger Johnson, said, "Dave, what technique were you using in your pass set?" I'm like, "What do you mean, coach?" He goes, "Man, we drilled it for like 3 weeks, and you get in the game and you go back to what you did at Syracuse because you guys never pass protected. All you did was run an unbalanced line and run play action pass." He goes, "You were just like jumping, and both your feet are in the air at the same time.
Yeah.
You're set, And I'm like, "No way, coach. I know I had a post, but I know I had." No, no. You want to see you want to see that those years was a 16 millimeter film. I'll show you on film, and I'll be a son of a gun. I'm watching the end zone film, and whoop, I'm jumping. It's like what? I mean, it's like muscle memory. You go back to it, you don't even realize you're doing it until it's already
Yep.
done. It's crazy.
It's wild, and that's part of growing up in the league and being able to translate, practice to the game. So, it happens to all of us. Obviously, like you just mentioned. I mean, so it's just part of the process, and I think guys are working really hard. It's been an exciting training camp so far, Dave, and obviously, plenty more to go, but we're on the right track.
So can't have a conversation with you without talking about Joe Burrow. Everybody can't get enough of the Joe Burrow conversation, but to see him um, every single day, it looks like his energy level is rising. Looks like he's starting to feel a heck of a lot better. And then you see him when he ran sprints with you guys on game night. I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then he's throwing on the sideline. It's like, okay, here he comes. And then puts the pads on, helmet on, goes out and throws 7-on-7 and dropping dimes, in the exact spot you have to throw it to beat cover two. He's hitting that spot, hitting it. I mean, just unbelievable to watch the kid. What are your impressions of him? The more and more you see him now, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think he's getting ready to go and lead this team. He's an ultimate competitor and had some things that have, been these minor setbacks so far in his, this year. Obviously, that was more of a major setback. It was kind of a scary medical situation. Very glad he's okay.
Right.
Receiving the best care possibly. He has an amazing family and support system, and obviously, we're all there for him if and when he needs us. But he's the ultimate competitor. He wants to get out there. He's the leader of this team. Everyone knows that. There's really no question about that. Our job, I feel my job is to make his job as easy as possible for him, and in turn, he'll probably make us look very good. So, what I've been focused on in camp so far is just trying to get our unit as polished as possible to be able for him to step in and just be very comfortable. We know what we're doing. All you have to do is step in and put your nuance on it, put your leadership on it. We're a very malleable unit that can adapt to whatever you need us to do. So that's what I've been focused on telling the guys. We need to be at our best now. We've had a kind of a grace period where our leader of the franchise has been sidelined. So now it's time. I don't know his timetable at all, but I know that he's dying to get out there and working every day to do so. So I think we're in a good spot to receive him, and hopefully he's pleased with our performance here this week and moving forward.
Yeah, to see him ramp up to going out there to practice and then getting into 7-on-7s, doing individual drills. The next step is the team portion. It wouldn't shock me if it happens in one of these practices this week. Not full, every snap, but maybe start to dabble in it and ramp up in that regard as well. It's very, very impressive to watch him ramp up to getting ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And boy, when you look in that huddle and when it's 11-on-11 and Joe's in that huddle, because here this past week, T. Higgins is in there for the first time. Jamar Chase has been in there. Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst. Now, all of a sudden, the boys are back at the offensive line. Man, it looks like this could be something special. This unit's got something going on. There's no question there's enough talent to compete at a very high level in the National Football League.
Absolutely. And, yeah, it looks great on paper. The one thing I think about, a lot of people have said that, it looks great on paper. We have to go execute and perform. This is a performance business.
Yep.
There's no two ways about that, but we have a lot of good guys out there, and it's exciting to be a part of, and everyone's working really hard. And, when, September 11th, when it rolls around, that's never a finished product, but that's going to be we want to be as dangerous as possible as an offense. And I think that, we've executed pretty well so far. But there's still a long way to go, and which is nice. We have a long time to, continue to prepare.
It's quite amazing that the kind of the reminder of, boy, when it doesn't go well, how costly penalties can be, like 11 for 104 yards, like we talked about, because last season, one thing this team hung its hat on, it had the second fewest penalties called on it, and it was the fewest penalty yards assessed. So that was something that took great pride in. We're not going to beat ourselves. We're going to make the other guy beat us. We're not going to give him any assistance here whatsoever. And I think the team definitely understands that. And this was a good reminder, because it takes a lot of work mentally and physically to execute that way and make sure that you're not going to be hindered by yellow flags. There's no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's just part of, continuing to build our base fundamentals. I think that penalties are caused by either a lack of technique, focus, or, you could have some freak stuff that maybe you get called penalties wise, but usually it's your own fault. And, it can be ticky-tacky or not, but we don't want to give the officials any opportunity to call anything. So as we continue to grow, obviously we want to make that a priority. You can't win until you keep from losing. So we're not going to, hopefully we're not going to be a highly penalized team.
Any buddies with the New England Patriots that, and I know it's only a preseason game with the Giants, you don't need to get all kinds of intel, extra scoop or anything on them as you're preparing for the Giants, but they played each other. That was the opponent for the Giants last week. Do you still stay in touch with any of your former teammates with the Patriots?
Oh, absolutely. I've many great friends on that team and throughout the league. It's part of, being in, feel very grateful and blessed to have been in the league now for 7 years. A lot of guys throughout the league, but spent 5 in New England, and a lot of those guys are, I would consider to be my brothers. I'll hit them up. Absolutely. James Ferentz plays center up there. He usually gives a good report on opposing defenses. It was great to see them play. I wish them luck. I watched the game. It was kind of a surreal experience just watching it from the outside. You know, I've been a part of many of those against it. I think I've played the Giants in every single preseason of my career.
Really?
Excluding 2020, we didn't have a preseason. So yeah, other than that, we play the Giants every year. So kind of a tradition up there. Obviously, just a common opponent, but we'll get a little report, maybe a little nuance or something that he saw that could help us. You know, it's a little easier to get stuff like that in the preseason when we're not jockeying for position in the AFC. But
right.
Just a little professional courtesy from my buddies.
There you go. What is the biggest message that you took out of after you guys, absorbed the tape and the performances and everything? What is the biggest coaching point or the biggest thing that you took from Frank Pollock in a summation of everything? And it's like, okay, let's get ready for the Giants now. Was there anything that he said that struck you, man? And that makes total sense to me. That's a big time comment right there.
Well, there's opportunities to be taken. There's a lot of football to be played in camp and a lot of kind of jockeying to be as far as, what roles are guys going to take. And, I think as it comes down to the last 2 games here, camp gets a little tighter now that we have only 3 games. And, but we do have a lot of practice and there's been a lot of football too, that has been performed, but who's going to take these roles? So I think that guys are, on high alert for opportunity and to maximize the production that they show on film every chance they get, and regardless of the situation.
Like you said, Ted, a regular NFL work week, with a Sunday game. You work Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, travel Saturday, and play on Sunday. So you start to get that body clock, going a little bit and experience that. And that's part of training camp as well. No doubt. Hope you have a great week of work and can't thank you enough for your time today, my man.
Always, Dave. Anything you need. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate you, man.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.